Part 1. It was a bleak evening in a quiet American town when the body of businessman Charles Monroe was discovered in a desolate vacant lot. The scene exuded an eerie stillness, the kind that prickled the skin and sent shudders down every spine. Charles Monroe, a man known for his polished suit and confident stride, now lay lifeless, bearing the violent marks of a brutal beating. The harsh reality was impossible to ignore. His body had suffered relentless, merciless assault, yet curiously, there were no signs of a struggle nearby. This unsettling detail hinted at a murder far more sinister than a mere robbery. Investigators, drawn into the labyrinth of mystery, soon learned that nothing in this case was as straightforward as it first appeared. Rumors swirled around town, intricate and maddening, about what fate had befallen Charles. In a twist that defied expectations, a search of his car revealed a startling secret tucked away in the humble glove compartment. A stack of business cards from high-end, intimate service lounges. The cards, printed with sleek, seductive designs, were as out of place in his life as the chaos that had ended it. For those who followed Charles's life, the discovery stirred unsettling questions about the man behind the public persona. Was he leading a double life? Had his hidden indulgences somehow led him into a deadly game? Every detail, every clue, seemed to pull the investigation in a direction that was as fascinating as it was disturbing. As the early threads of the case began to intertwine, whispers of conspiracy and betrayal emerged. The forensic team noted that the injuries had been inflicted meticulously, as though the killer had carried out each act of violence with a calculated precision. It was not the work of a savage robber, but rather an execution by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. The initial red flag was the complete absence of personal belongings on the body, a fact that deepened the mystery. More puzzles lay hidden beneath layers of evidence, and each new discovery only pulled the investigators deeper into a web of secrets that seemed carefully designed to mislead. In the dim glow of streetlights, the vacant lot transformed into a stage for a detective story, unfolding right before the eyes of an eager public. The chilling atmosphere was thick with tension, hinting that every detail, no matter how minute, could unlock the truth. Who was behind this deliberate cruelty? And what did the unexpected business cards reveal about the man Charles Monroe truly was? As the investigation advanced, the narrative of deception and hidden lives took shape, one that promised to expose not only a murderer, but also the tangled intersection between public success and private indiscretion. Part 2. As the investigation deepened, the case of Charles Monroe took on an even darker hue, revealing a narrative that defied the chances of a random act of violence. Forensic experts, methodical and unyielding, unearthed clues that pointed to a murder far more intricate than a simple robbery gone awry. Early on, one of the lead pathologists, Dr. Mitchell, discovered an unsettling detail: a small trace of an injection mark near the shoulder of the victim, a scar that spoke volumes of chemicals coursing through his system before his final moments. Subsequent blood analyses confirmed that Charles had been under the influence of a psychotropic substance, an agent that blurred the line between clarity and delirium in his final hours. In a macabre twist, forensic specialists also identified an imprint from a pistol's muzzle on the side of his neck, a mark that exuded a chilling finality and hinted at a meticulously curated execution rather than a spontaneous outburst of violence. No detail was too small as the detectives meticulously pieced together the puzzle. Charles's injuries, it appeared, were not the result of chaos but of deliberate torture, a slow, calculated process designed to leave a signature, even if it was one that teetered on the edge of invisibility. Among the myriad of shocking revelations was the discovery of nearly imperceptible electrical markings underlying the victim's chest. These markings, subtle arcs that might have been missed entirely by the untrained eye, carried an almost artistic precision, as if etched by a hand intent on both punishing and sending a message. The nature of these signs, almost otherworldly in their precision, left experts and investigators both perplexed and unnerved. Amidst this gory symphony of scientific findings, a human element emerged that further complicated the narrative. Beth Monroe, the widow of the slain businessman, stepped into the spotlight, her voice trembling with both grief and fierce determination as she contested the burgeoning image of her late husband's secret life. Beth vehemently denied that Charles had ever succumbed to the allure of narcotics or engaged in any illicit liaisons that the physical evidence hinted at. Yet as the layers of deception peeled back, a haunting possibility rose. Perhaps the hidden realities of Charles's life were not so easily reconciled with the picture of a devoted family man. In his car, alongside the striking stack of seductive business cards from upscale intimate service lounges, investigators discovered a used condom and a stray lock of silky hair, each item a potential key to unlock a darker side of a man whose public persona had long been polished and impeccable. Every twist in the tale deepened the sense of betrayal and enigma, as if someone had wanted to cast a red herring over the truth. The evidence, in its relentless accumulation, painted a portrait of a man whose life was as compartmentalized as it was mysterious. A man who might have stepped over forbidden boundaries, thereby inviting retribution from unseen forces. Was Charles Monroe's demise merely the tragic punctuation of a life caught in the undertow of secret indulgences? Or was it more chillingly a calculated execution that served as both punishment and spectacle? As investigators grappled with these perplexing clues, each new finding stirred more questions than answers. The deliberate nature of the assault, the almost surgical precision of the inflicted injuries, and the bewildering blend of personal and criminal elements wove a tapestry of intrigue that was impossible to ignore. With every forensic report and every whispered rumor, the true motive behind Charles Monroe's death became ever more elusive, a ghost in the machine of evidence that seemed deliberately designed to confound. By the time the full picture was beginning to emerge, there was an undeniable tension in the air, a sense that someone, somewhere, had orchestrated this entire tragedy with a purpose that defied simple explanation. Part 3. In the final stretch of unraveling the tangled threads of Charles Monroe's demise, the investigation took an even more surreal and haunting turn. As detectives revisited the evidence, it became increasingly clear that every clue had been planted with the careful deliberateness of someone who not only orchestrated the murder, but also meticulously constructed the subsequent misdirection. The trace electrical marks found delicately beneath the victim's chest were now examined under cutting-edge spectral analysis techniques, confirming that they were not random scars of devastation, but intentional signatures left behind by someone intimately familiar with the torture process. This perplexing detail, alongside the precise injection marks and the subtle yet unmistakable imprint of a pistol's muzzle, painted a portrait not of crime driven by passion or greed, but of calculated retribution. A vendetta executed with the craftiness of a chess master moving pieces in a deadly game. The investigation further honed in on an unexpected nexus between personal betrayal and professional elimination. Speculation began to swirl around the possibility that Charles might have been entangled with dangerous liaisons, linking him to underworld figures far removed from his refined business circles. As detectives probed questions of loyalty and deception, more shadows were cast over Beth Monroe, the grieving widow. Her steadfast denials of her husband's involvement in illicit affairs, though heartfelt, could neither confirm nor completely dispel the lingering specter of doubt. Each piece of evidence, a used condom, the stray lock of hair, and the provocative business cards, pointed not only to a double life, but also hinted at a deliberate attempt to entangle Charles in a web of sins too complex to untangle by conventional methods. Now, as the investigation headed toward its climax, the atmosphere in the police precinct was heavy with anticipation. The collated testimonies, forensic mysteries, and scientific revelations were being reviewed with the precision of a master detective, piecing together a puzzle whose complete picture remained elusive. Every bit of evidence, whether physical or circumstantial, resonated with an unnerving consistency that suggested the murder was not about robbery or random violence. It was a dangerous message, a final, grim statement that echoed long after the deed was done. Rumors of extortion, betrayal, and clandestine affairs mingled with more sinister undercurrents of organized crime, pulling into focus a narrative that defied simple classification. At last, the case of Charles Monroe stood at the crossroads of unsolved ambiguity and the promise of unexpected clarity. Investigators began to suspect that the meticulously crafted scene was meant to mislead, a carefully staged facade hiding the true motive behind a mutilated legacy. As the evidence slowly converged, one pressing question remained. Was Charles's death an inevitable consequence of his own secret transgressions? Or was it the final act of vengeance by an unknown adversary determined to settle scores that no one even knew existed? With public intrigue mounting and whispers of conspiracy encircling the small American town, the viewers are now invited to delve deeper into the mystery alongside the investigators. As we follow the tantalizing clues toward an uncertain resolution, one must wonder, how far would you go to uncover the truth when every answer only breeds another puzzle? Subscribe and join us on this relentless pursuit of justice, because sometimes in the shadows of deception, the truth can be more dangerous than the lie.